Hello everyone, Darren here, and today's video covers flanking. I know flanking is kind of a strategy that you see in every first-person shooter, and everyone knows what flanking is, but in World of Tanks there's a bunch more different types of flanking strategies than a regular first-person shooter. So in today's video we're going to cover the three main, most commonly seen flanking strategies in World of Tanks console. So let's get started. So the first flank that we're going to look at is a shallow flank. What is a shallow flank? Well, it is a type of flank where you only flank enough of the enemy to present weak points to you, the bare minimum. You could consider it basically saying you flank enough to be able to get side shots on an enemy, but you don't flank so far out that you are cut off from your teammates, if that would make a little bit of sense to you. So what we have here is we have terrain represented here in black, and this would be a shallow dip that the enemy tank, the Conqueror in orange, is going hull down on. Now, you and your teammates are in green here. Now, how do you do a shallow flank? Well, like I said, it is the bare minimum required to be able to get weak points or make weak points available for you to shoot on an enemy tank. So in this case right here, the area you want to go is the bare minimum. So we're going to put this like little orange circle as the bare minimum, as you can get side shots onto the Conqueror here. The one tank would obviously flank around in to get to that spot right there. And by moving over there, you go around the terrain and still manage to get the side shots of your tank, of the tank that you are shooting at. The reason why you want to do this is mainly because of the fact that you might not have a whole lot of room to work with on the section of the map that you are using, or it might be that if you overextend, you are putting yourself in a position to be completely cut off and without support from your teammates. This is what a shallow flank is. Now, a hard flank is the common flank, the most commonly known flank that people associate when flanking. What I have here is a scenario you might find on a map like Himmelsdorf, for example. I actually kind of recreated a little portion of the map from Himmelsdorf on here. B represents buildings here, and Conquer, like the previous demonstration, is represented in orange as the enemy tank, and your teammates here in green. So, a hard flank is going pretty much taking a route to get a hard, flat-on angle on the enemy team or an enemy tank, whichever you prefer to focus on, really. So instead we're going to focus on this tank here because he has the opportunity to do a hard flank. Now, I would define a hard flank as a flank which requires the opponent to completely switch focus from one direction to another and providing a weak point to either force that he faces that he is not focusing on solely. So in this case here, he is able to protect his entire front flank here because the enemy is only appearing on the front. He only has to worry about the front of his tank. But if this tank here were to instead move around over to this spot here, he has complete side shots onto the Conqueror. Now, if he wanted to even go farther than that, he could move all the way around. We're going to stop right here. Let's just stop right here. He can get shots onto the unprotected flank. So he has two options right now to be able to flank the enemy team. This would require the Conqueror here to completely, if he wanted to respond here, this would require the Conqueror to either flip his turret around or his entire tank around to protect his rear, or in this case right here, it would require him to turn his turret and deal with him here, but also still exposing the side of his turret or the side of his tank to the tank right there. That is a hard flank. Now, the last flank type I'd like to talk about is the pincer or full envelopment. I like to define this as aggressively tagging an enemy from multiple flanks at the same time. This is different from a hard flank because you are already engaged and one tank is coming around and engaging from a different angle. So he is breaking off his attack to move and reposition in order to gain another flank. That is not a, I wouldn't really consider that a pincer maneuver in a sense, but it could be classified at, again, I'm not a, like, my major is not a tactician, so I couldn't really, defend or argue the difference. But for the sake of this, the pincer envelopment, this would require, from one flank, splitting and dividing and attacking from multiple fronts. So for this case here, again, we have like a situation here on steps. There's this battle, the enemy tank retreats behind a rock, and your teammate is coming at him from the other side of the rock. Well, in this case here, we have this tank moving around to a position right here to, attack from this side. And then we have this tank moving over here to this side to attack from here. What we have here is, with they moving around at the same time, you've effectively enveloped the enemy, forcing one of his flanks to be on this rock so he cannot back away or escape this direction. And you have forced his attention here. He realizes that this side he cannot go through because one of your tanks are here, and this side he cannot go through because there's another tank there, and he's being engaged on both flanks here. There is a third element, though, is what if, you've cleaned up your flank, you're pushing around to help out another flank, but that flank there finishes up before you get done with this tank, and now they rush in to help you out. Not that you possibly need it. Well, that third element has come in, and he has now fully been enveloped. He cannot escape, and he's going to die. Or get destroyed, whichever one you want to use there. The other thing I'd like to mention is that with hard flanks and the envelopment tactics is that it is more of a 3 to 4 dimensional space right there. You can, by even like an elevated position and shooting down on an enemy or shooting up at an enemy, that could easily be considered another flank to consider. So it would be, when you're hard flanking or pincer and envelopment, the fourth dimension of, or I'm sorry, I'd say the fourth dimension. So you'd be like, the X and Y, Z axis, and then, another axis there. It is a 3 to 4 dimensional battle space there. So attacking from any unprotected flank with a pincer or an envelopment or a hard flank tactic, can be done by any angle as long as it is an unprotected flank. But that concludes today's video on flanking. I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, this has been Darren of WoTC Academy.